the users group meeting this afternoon. Thank you for coming. I think we're all appreciative of the sun as it has come out today. And we know we have a big group here in the room and numerous people online. We welcome people online also. I know that we have some brand new people who haven't been to a users group before. And we would just like to welcome you and let you tell us who you are. So if this is your very first ever users group meeting, Melissa, would you like to?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Melissa. I'm the new director at the Alpha Park Library, and I've been back in Illinois since the end of November. So, yay.
Thank you. Welcome.
I'm Jennifer Schode. I work with RSA, cataloging and database coordinator. Been there not even 2 months, I don't think.
December 16th.
December 16th, and I come from Peoria Public Library. I see my Peoria people and Jenny down there. I worked at Peoria for about 22 years. Circulation, business science and technology, and then technical services for cataloging. So,
well, welcome. And
Thank
welcome
you.
to RSA and welcome to our group this afternoon. Is there anybody else brand new online? Oh,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm Carrie Gibbons. I'm the Circ and Tech Services Manager at Washington.
And you haven't been to an RSA meeting?
I've not been to a users group meeting.
Okay, great. Well, good. Welcome this afternoon.
James, did anybody online pipe up with this is their first meeting to attend? No.
Sticker.
Welcome, new person.
And everybody be very friendly, please. We decided that we really don't have time for everybody.
Tracy.
Apparently not.
You've had a chance to review the agenda. You might have one in front of you. I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
All right. Is there any discussion about the agenda? All those in favor of its adoption?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And then the next thing are the minutes from the previous meeting. We've had those and had a chance to look at them. Is there
I move we approve. I will second that.
okay, a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the minutes?
Oh, I'm Lexi Walsh. Okay. What did I do?
Is there any discussion about needed corrections or omissions or? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes as they stand, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. And we have an RSA support staffing update, but I think maybe we've met Jennifer.
We did most of it. Jennifer is our newest employee, and also Jane Bradbury has now been on staff for 1 year. So we congratulate Jane on sticking around.
Thank you, Kendall. And Gina has a report from the board of directors.
Welcome everybody to Fond du Lac. We've been here before. Bathrooms are right across the hall. There's more in the library as well. When Barb tells you to take your stretch break, if you need a coffee, just tell the people at the checkout desk, and I told them to give you some. So, board met this. Is it close enough? Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. The board met this morning. I want to congrats the RSA staff on a seamless network upgrade. Woo. I hope it was seamless for everybody else as well. The board approved the fiscal year 21 budget this morning so that we can now submit it to Rails. Kendall's going to discuss that more later in the meeting, right? So I won't talk about it anymore. Ann Slaughter with Rails, she's the LSAP supervisor. What's her?
Ann is the
LSAP queen? Oh, she's still here. Okay. She spoke with their board about potential new formulas for fiscal year 22 Rails LSAP funding, and also to discuss the future expectation of RSA staff becoming independent of Rails, but no timeline has been established. Also, Jeff Brooks will be chairing a membership structure committee. They're going to be addressing and looking at membership levels and building a new structure that way versus just basic online, full online. And this came out as part of plans and goals established by the strategic plan. So he's going to chair that, and the committee will be formed here over the next couple months.
Yeah.
So if Jeff comes calling, please say yes. So that's pretty much everything that we did this morning that Ken was not going to talk about.
Pretty much. The one other thing that snuck up on us is our May meetings. We typically talk about running an election, and then we run it online. So I need an election wrangler, and our previous election wrangler is currently at Disneyland or Disney World or
Yeah, the
Disney,
photos are great.
Disney something.
Which totally, since he's not here to be election rank, totally makes him up for nominating to be on a.
That's
Oh,
right.
Totally
The-
not Joel.
The fun part of being the election wrangler is you don't get to run for the board. So if you are the election wrangler and do not wish to run for the board, there's a nice synergy there. Being the election wrangler is pretty simple. I send you the emails that we sent out the last couple of years, and you rewrite it a little bit and put your name on the bottom. And then we send it out to the listserv, and then anybody who wants to run for the board or users group, whenever election seats are open, sends you their name and their little bio, and then you kind of bug people until you have all that information, and then you send it to me, and we build a ballot, and then run an election. So it's a pretty low stress job. What's that?
Fake button.
Well, not anymore. You got a fake button, but now it's gone because you have it. So,
I might do like that. Or you could just do it.
so do we have a volunteer? Do we have a volunteer to not run for the board, but run the quote unquote run the election?
Can a board member do it?
They haven't. I did
Yes.
it once or twice
Oh.
ago. Maybe that was for users group
That's
chair.
fine.
I don't remember. I know it's
Joel
done it.
doesn't want to do it often.
Okay. Very good.
Democracy. Great. Okay.
That's all I got. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you. I'm sorry
Good.
you have to run.
So,
Oliver, how many positions will be at the election meeting wrangling?
I believe there are 3 board positions.
Really?
Yes. And I just looked, and now I don't remember who they were. Gina, Jeff, and somebody else. And one other person will be.
So there are categories. then.
Yes.
And the categories are
Give me a second. I have the technology.
Courtney.
Yes. So it is large library, so population served over 25,000. Medium library, population between 10 and 25,000. And an at-large basic online library. Those are the 3 seats there. And then on users group, I believe we are elected in even fiscal year, we are electing a chair this year.
Oh.
So there are 4 positions. If you are interested on any of those, there'll be an email coming out in a bit on the listserv. If you're not on the listserv, you will not get the email. So sign up for the listserv.
all right, thank you very much. Number 3 on our agenda are committee reports. You also have these to look at. I think that it's just if we have comments or questions on the report.
All right, moving on.
Sign up for RSA.
Oh, yeah. Currently 139 registered for RSA Day, so if you want to come, you should register in the near future.
Yeah, it does fill up pretty quickly towards the end, and we have 200 seats this year, so.
It'd be amazing.
All right, good deal. And then it's the written package that Kendall has lots to talk about.
So hopefully y'all didn't print out the written package, because one of those documents was really long. That was the one that talked about where all the places to set your hold slip if you want to remove your personally identifiable information about your patrons on there. So that was on there. Were there any questions about anything that was in the written package other than the strat plan update and the Library of Things search limit? Both of those we'll talk about Anything online, James? All right. There's some good stuff in there, though. For those of you that do not have Mobile Circ or maybe have Mobile Circ but haven't used it for a while, the Mobile Circ 2 came out. There's an info sheet that has a list of all the things that Mobile Circ will do, and a very short little description. And also, the last page of that is a $50 Bluetooth scanner that will hook up to your iPads or iPhones. And you can use that along with Mobile Circ, which will make your life a lot easier. So for those of you that either were thinking about using that or want to use it or have forgotten about it, that sheet will be very interesting. Library-owned devices only, please, because once we install it on your device, it's there forever. So library-owned devices only. All right. See, we're one whole page in.
Wow.
I love that. Okay, so last meeting we talked about the budget and we talked about the numbers. That was the draft budget. This is the final budget. Do I need to stop the recording? Hold on just a second. All right. I was going to say if we need a break, but we'll see. I'm dying today. Okay, so we're going to talk about just some quickie things. First one, we did that library of things internet filter. Okay. Some libraries have a great number of library of things type objects. This could be board games, this could be mobile hotspots, this could be Roku boxes, this could be Kindles, this could be toys, fishing rods, art, if any of you still have art from the old art projects floating around, right? And we've had several libraries that it's becoming a thing where a library would like to have a search limit in RSA CAT that only returns their library of things items, right? So that they can make these more visible to their patrons. So we thought for a long time on how do we do this? What is a way we can do this so that we can build a filter that works not only in the context of a single library, but in the context of all libraries for items in their library that want the filter, but not bug everybody else. Because the majority of these items are local holds only. So there's no RSA-wide filter for this because it's just mean to advertise here all the library of things that you cannot have that aren't at your library, right? So this is a per library filter that we'll set up. And the way it works is this. The item has to be owned by your library or your library and your branches, right? That makes sense. That's step one. Step two is it has to have one or more of the following properties set against the item record, right? So item category 3 set to either realia or toy. You guys don't set item category 3s. Item category 3s are set based on the item type of the item. There's a feeder of certain item types become realia item category 3 and certain other item types become toy item category 3, and that's done based on a script purpose. So it either has to be item category 3 realia, item category 3 toy, or the two that you can directly set, item category 4 or item category 5 lib things. Right? So if you've got something that you have cataloged, it's a board game, or better yet, let's use a piece of equipment because that would not be either realia or toy. We'll go with a mobile hotspot, right? So you have a mobile hotspot, that's going to be item category 3 equipment. So it doesn't fall in those item category 3 things. If you want it to show up in a library thing search, all you have to do is assign it either item category 4 or item category 5, not both, just one, please. Lib things. And then it will show up in an Internet of Things search. So I will demonstrate that. Right now, we have this set up for normal public library and for Fond du Lac. Is that who we just set up? Who did I set up? I set you up?
Yeah.
We're in Fond du Lac, we'll show Fond du Lac. I knew we set somebody up. So how it works is you come into Fond du Lac, you select the Library of Things search. You can either put in, I don't know, Roku or something if you wanted, or you can just leave it blank and do a search. If you leave it blank, it'll return a list of everything that fits any one of those 4 criteria owned by Fond du Lac. There are currently 301 you've been adding to your list. So there are 301 things here that show up. Some are equipment, some are kits, some are realia, and some are toys. That's the overall formats. You've got board games, card games, puzzles. So pretty easy way to advertise this to your patrons, right? Without overwhelming them or anything like that. So if you would like us to set this search up for you, or maybe better yet, if you would like us to tell you what would be returned in a search like this if we set it up for you, send an email to the help desk, and we can either set you up with a report, or if you feel confident, like, yes, if we build this filter, it will return enough things that it makes sense for us to show to our patrons now. Just tell us, send an email to the help desk, and we will set it up for you. Yes, you have a question?
You might have covered this in the previous meeting. So if you didn't select the library, will it let you look up library things or not?
No, because again, most of these things are local holds only, right? So you have to be on, it will show up on Fond du Lac's library page, and it'll show up on Normal's library page, and the items that are returned in the search are specific to that, one of those 2 libraries.
I think that's good. I just want to.
Yes. It does not show up anywhere else. Now, if in the far future, that could be 6 months or 2 years, who knows, right? If there are lots of libraries that have a lot of library of things, and those things are holdable, it would be pretty simple to build an RSA wide filter to expose all of those things. Doesn't make sense right now because you're just teasing people with things they can't put holds on. Any questions about that? Did I get that all right, Erica? All right. I set up the filter. I hope that was right.
I think Kendall will create a cheat sheet of this document, and I have a couple things I would add to it.
Okay.
Just what we talked about, but I think we'll make a cheat sheet out of this document.
There's one in the written guide.
Well,
Start
no,
with
I'm
that.
thinking we'll do like a standalone cheat sheet
Okay.
so that you don't have to dig in the users group document if you want to revisit this at your library.
All right. Next thing, we have had a rash of client care tickets where people try and log into RSA CAT and they can't. They get some generic error that I don't remember what it currently says, but something about this patron doesn't exist in the database or barcode. I don't know. I don't remember what the error is, but you have a patron, you've given the patron a barcode, they go to RSA CAT to try and log in, and the system will not let them do it. And 99 out of 100 times when this happens, it's because that's a barcode that was reused. If you reuse a barcode, the system knows that the barcode used to exist and expects that whoever was assigned that barcode in the past is still assigned that barcode. And when the names don't match, you can't log into RSA CAT. We can't fix that locally. We have to go to Circe Dynex, who then goes in and deletes that patron out of the catalog, right? So that the patron can go in and log in and reestablish, hey, I'm a new patron, this is my ID. The problem is, it doesn't fix everything else that breaks when you reuse a barcode, right? So the standard is if you issue a barcode and you scan it into workflows, be it a patron ID or an item ID, just don't reuse it. The system knows that it was assigned to something. And we have had this problem in the past where a patron would come into the library and they would have a bill on their account that was something they had never checked out. But there was a bill on their account that said they owed $50 for it. And we go through and we find out that the patron had not checked out the item that had the current barcode. But the new barcode, the patron had checked out, but there was a bill from someone else who had checked the thing out. But when the barcode got reused, now it gets assigned to a different patron, and now a patron owes money, but the patron doesn't own money. It works the other way. If you reissue a patron barcode, everything in the system for that previous patron now applies to the new patron. And if that old patron who was not deleted correctly owed money, guess who now owns money? The new patron, right? Because the system goes, oh, that's a barcode. I have a whole history for this barcode. Here you go, right? If you call us and you say, hey, can you run an item history on this thing, and you've changed barcodes, we can't really see that you changed barcodes, that you reused a barcode. All we know is the history of this item goes back 10 years, and here's what happened. And you're going, this is a new item that doesn't have 10 years of history. And then we're all confused. We're like, why is the system telling me there's 10 years of history? Well, the other thing had 10 years of history. This new thing does not. But the system doesn't understand that you've reused a barcode. You can't wash a barcode number away. So please, if you have issued a barcode to a patron for any reason, you're playing with fire if you issue it to a new patron. There's a lot of things system-wise that can get tied to it. Same with item barcodes.
And don't just think real quick, just because that patron can log on to RSA CAT doesn't mean that they should still use that barcode. Okay, because the reason why they can't log on to RSA CAT is because the previous patron already did. So there's ramifications. Do not just give out that barcode again, just because they can log on online because of the history and all that other thing. Take for instance. So.
Yeah. Peoria Public wouldn't have this problem. There's a couple of other libraries that wouldn't have the problem of circ history. But if a patron's turned on circ history and then hasn't used the library for 2 years and you reissue their barcode, when that new patron logs in, they have circ history. That would be a little disconcerting if I was a patron. Good.
So one of the things I saw happen when I was at the North Branch was sometimes a patron would bring in a card and they would no longer be in workflows because maybe they hadn't used it in 2 years. And I see staff sometimes reuse that number.
Same patrons use old number?
But I would tell them not to do it because you might have 3 kids in your family. You might think that's my card, but it could be one of my kids' cards. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
You have no way, unless, because a lot of times they don't, you can't read the signature already.
And the standard answer from us is going to be just slap a new barcode on it and go to town. Don't, if you scan something in and it doesn't show up in the search, that just means it's been deleted in its old form, right? But as soon as you've added it back in, the system goes, oh, look what I have. This thing exists again. I got a whole history for this, right? And then those things, they start getting tied together again, and that can potentially cause problems. So just issue a new barcode and move on. And I say that with kind of a smile on my face because RSA used to be a not-for-profit. And then RSA merged with Alliance Library System and went out of existence as a standalone unit. And then in 2011, when we became a not-for-profit again and I put our paperwork in, the state of Illinois went, wait a minute, aren't you RSA of old? It's the same name and the same address. We're just going to give you your old not-for-profit number. So we have the same not-for-profit number we had back in the 90s because we're the same people. I guess that's okay. We could be someone completely different. We're not, but we could be. But we have the old RSA's not-for-profit number. So this is not just a local thing. Right? This happens a lot. But please, it will cut down on the number of things that confuse your patrons and staff and us. Because frankly, we get calls and we look things up and we're like, what is going on here, right? And it takes a long time to figure out, oh, we think this barcode may have been reused and this fine on a patron account's probably not accurate. We don't know who it went to, but it's showing up because of this barcode's got a history. So any other questions about that? It's just happened quite a bit lately, so we thought we would talk about it. I owe somebody an email on this. Well, the email is pretty much written now. So. I know somebody had asked me a question about this. Okay. So some of the things we heard in the strat plan was, hey, we would love to see more information on the RSA website. We would love to see a new RSA website. While we can't just snap our fingers and make a new RSA website, we can fix some of the biggest issues that came around. And one of the biggest ones that we heard was there's not one place to find a policy on the RSA website. So we're trying to fix that. So we have pretty much finished a policy handbook page. It's not visually flashy, but it does the job. So let's see. Yes.
Are you going to post that somewhere? You just asked, will they get a printout of the do not reuse barcodes?
No, because they've been deleted from the system.
No. I mean, what you just showed, evidently what you just showed.
Oh, yeah. I think that's actually.
So why not to use it? Is that going to be posted somewhere where they can have that?
I can make one. Send me an email. I'll make you one, put it out. So here is where we're at on the policy handbook. So on the Rails page, or I'm sorry, on the RSA website, there'll be a new link for policy handbook. You go in there. We've got cert cataloging. There's currently no reports policy, so this won't be visible initially. Governance, and then delivery ILL. We'll add things to this as it makes sense. Some of these link off-site. For instance, the delivery and ILL room links out to the Rails delivery ILDS page because you need to go there sometimes, and people aren't really sure sometimes who's who and what is what. We're linking back to the RSA membership list here as well because, again, if it's all in one spot, we may as well just link around within the website. If you go to circulation policies, there are quite a few of those. They're available in other spots on the RSA website, but they are not available in one spot. So now they are. Cataloging policies are here as well. So we have to do some link fixing because when you put it up on a test site, it links to the test site. So when we move it over to the production site, we've got to go through and fix some links. But we'll put this up, and then if there are things that are missing or other places you'd like to see, oh, hey, it'd be nice if you could add this to your policy handbook, just let us know, and we'll do our best to get it up in there. We're trying to make this kind of a one-stop shop so that you don't have to think about jumping around in there. So that's that. The other thing that we have built is, this was another request, was a list of the governance and networking groups. So we put together a page of all of the networking groups that we know about. Again, we'll put this out for you. So if we've missed any, like what was that, Southside 30 or whatever I made up this morning, we'll put that on here as well. If we've missed any, and we're trying to put some information on there. If you have like a website where you post information and we could link to that if we knew what it was, right? So the idea here is to help people, again, kind of one-stop shop to help people. We're also working on a new director page that has some links and some ideas for new directors. That page will definitely link here because we want to hook new directors up with the networking group so you guys can help mentor them. So these are the kinds of things we heard about during our process of running through the strategic plan. We're like, these are things we can do. We'll get on it. We'll build these as we can with a long-term goal of rebuilding the entire website.
Kendall, is that policy handbook and the networking group stuff live now on the website?
It is not live now. It will be live next week. Okay. Like I said, we'll put it on there, but the links link back to that Jamie's room. So if we built it live now and you clicked on any of the links, it would take you to the wrong place. So we have to manually correct those. But otherwise, it's pretty much ready to go. All right. As part of the kind of long-term strategy of what does RSA look like 7 to 10 years from now, how does RSA move forward with manpower issues? How does RSA move forward with doing a system request for proposal type process in a couple of years? I'm starting to have meetings with the directors of all of the other LSAPs, that makes sense, in Rails. So I also went down, the first stop I made was down in Heartland, so the director of the Share Consortia down there, Sandy Thompson. I went down there in December and we had a nice talk. Learned a little bit more about them, things I didn't know. We talked about how we like our software, how we like our systems, talked about how they do personnel things, talked about how we do personnel things, just kind of get an idea of where they're at, what they're thinking. Also in December, I met with the director of Prairie Cat, which is our neighbor to the north. And we talked again about how we're alike, how we're different, library sizes, you know, involvement of libraries or members and boards, how Prairie Cat, when they did their system migration a couple of years ago, they specifically chose a system that would not allow libraries to do their own thing because it forced them to standardize everything consortia-wide. That was their decision. That's how they chose to move forward. They were tired of things not being the same, and they're very much the same now in many ways. We talked about, hey, what's the, you know, RSA in a couple of years, we're going to have to look at taking our staff independent from Rails. The money from Rails doesn't change, but we would not be Rails employees anymore. How is PrayCat doing their staffing? How they just did this process, right? So they could say, here are the things you need to look for. Here's how we did it. You know, maybe we could talk about merging staffs just so that you don't have to go and do that as a step towards the future. Who knows? But when you're talking 5, 7, 10 years out for long-term of consortia, technology changes pretty quick. Even in the library world, technology changes, not nearly as quickly, but it does change. And 5, 7, 10 years out, maybe RSA looks different. We don't know. That's why we're starting to talk. Right, so I'm going to go talk with the SWAN director and the CCS director as well. They, like, organizationally would not be a great fit for RSA because they're very large libraries for the most part. They don't understand how you can provide service to a public library that only has 530 some odd patrons. They don't understand that. They're like, my video room is larger than their entire library. How are you doing that? But they do have good information on having their own staff because they both had to do that, right? They have good information on, one of them runs the same system as us, one runs a different system, and they've just moved to it, so we can learn about that. Our contracts kind of get done at the same time, so we may do a joint RFP. I don't know. But if we don't talk, nothing ever happens in the future. So this is just kind of the long-term kind of getting a lay of the land and see how things go. I just wanted you all to be aware of that. We are trying to look, it is part of our long-term strategy as well in the strat plan. One of the goals is to look at RSA for long-term viability and if there are mergers required or whatever. So this is in service of that. Any questions about that? All right, the last one, this is one that Anna brought to me. And it is a question about libraries who have gone fine-free. Does RSA need a policy about what happens to money paid to libraries that are fine-free? There is sort of a policy now in that if you collect money for a damaged item or a lost item or a referral or a collection fee, that goes to the library that either charged the fee or the item owning library. But for overdues and things like that, is there a policy? There isn't a policy right now on what you do in a fine-free library for patrons who are not your own. So the question that Anna had, because there are more libraries looking at becoming fine-free, this is a popular thing. I listed out the libraries that, as far as I know of, are the ones who are fine-free now.
at our board meeting.
I really. All right. So as we have more libraries go fine free, the questions then become: do we need a policy? Right?
Yeah.
What is the policy? Should they not accept money at all? I mean, if it's for a damaged item, sure, take the money and send a check. But you know, what if a patron walks in and is blocked? Do you override and check out because, well, we don't take the money from them? You know?
You can pay online with copay.
Instead of policy, you direct them to the OPAC instead of how to pay off.
These are the conversations that we went round and round and round with the staff trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
You do through the app.
If
Okay.
Peoria Heights has
That
a
was-
fine free, does all Peoria public patrons just go to return all their stuff in Peoria Heights?
That was my question, why?
That's not, you know. Oh, that.
How many of them are really going to figure that out? I mean,
A lot of it in Peoria Heights. They know how to work the circs.
Is returning it make it time?
No.
I'm checking it out and making sure.
Yes. So yeah, that's a good point, right? So the way that fine free is determined is by checkout library, right? So if you check something out of Peoria and you keep it for a month and you take it back and you owe $10 on it, it doesn't matter if you return it at a fine free library, it's going to have a fine charge.
You send all your stuff to Peoria
At
Heights
the
and
fine
check it
free.
out there.
Yes, if you return it, well, if you check it, yes. So you send your hold to Peoria Heights and check it out from there, and then you don't have a fine. Correct.
People will figure that out fast.
Well, that's fine, you don't need a policy for that, that's just. that's
Right,
how it
but
is.
if the Peoria patron has a $10 fine, they returned it to Peoria Heights, and now they want to, because there's a $10 fine, they want to check out something else, and now they can't because they went over the threshold. What's the policy? I mean, Peoria Heights can't just.
That, I would think that is an individual library policy if they want to waive any kind of override. There are many overrides you can waive. That's that own individual's library if they want to take that risk. And because you're looking at a patron who can't return things on time and owes money, do you want to risk giving them more things? Or just giving them one more thing, giving them 5 more things?
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like that own individual library's policy.
But are you putting other libraries this year at danger doing that if they call it cold versus just your own district?
Or if it's Peoria Heights patron and they went to Peoria to pick it up. Now they're using, and they're returning it back to their home library, but they checked it out from Peoria.
But the fine would go on there because.
The fine would go on.
The fine would go on, and if they checked it out of Peoria, but Peoria Heights is probably going to waive the fine when they bring it in, because even if they collected it, they wouldn't send it to you because it's an overdraft.
That's why I would like to see RSA have a policy saying that if a patron owes $10 to Peoria Public Library and they happen to frequent Peoria Heights, they work in Peoria Heights or whatever, and so they go to Peoria Heights and say, oh yeah, I've got $10 fine, here's $10 bill. I want a policy to say Peoria Heights has to cut a check to Peoria Public Library.
Too much crime.
Holy crap, no. That is awful.
That's too much crime.
I assume they'll be fine free, everybody.
But the
And you
problem
can say
is
we're
Peoria Heights
RSA
might not
free.
want to take the money because they don't take the money. So is it right for Peoria Heights to forgive the fine? Technically, they would have taken it and kept it.
They can't forgive it, they can override and check out.
Override and check out, we don't how that.
They check out their own material
This
out.
need to go to the circuit committee.
Well, so that was the purpose of this slide, right? So there is a policy committee under the CERT committee, and the question we are trying to find out is there enough evidence that at least the policy committee should talk about this?
Yeah.
Sounds like there is. So there's your answer, Anna.
Well, the good news is we're gonna try to wrap up the other contingency user policy at the next committee meeting, so that we'll have plenty of time to be contingent about this. The next committee meeting.
You need direction from the directors though on what they want.
Right.
Like,
That's a good point.
Would you like a
certain
survey?
people have opinions, but that's not director level opinion.
Would you like a survey?
That'd be a good thing. We love our surveys now. Yes, Alyssa.
I would like a survey that also is like how many more are considering going fine free. Because, I mean, I have no intention of going fine free. So, but I'm curious if this, are we going to be forced to go fine-free if the tide turns.
Oh, if everybody around you has gone fine for
So my board has already approved it. We're just gonna work on it now.
Tide is already turned.
I mean,
We
my
used to do it
patrons
2 weeks
actually
ago.
like to pay my fines, and it's too much of a cut to my
Yeah,
budget
ours
with the minimum wage. That are doing.
Yeah, I don't have a list of who has asked us for data because, quite frankly, people ask us for data to make policy changes all the time and look at the data and go, oh, that won't work, right? So, you know, if you've got a library that's talking about maybe, oh, we want to go fine-free for juvenile items, but they don't have birthdays put in the system, you have people who say they're juveniles, but they could be my age, right? Because they just never got changed, right? And we can't run a report to automatically change them because birthdays aren't in the system. So in that case, they'd be like, no, the data doesn't support that we could even make this work. And there are other libraries that look at the data and they go, oh, we can make this work, it's fine. And they go fine free.
So I guess if Anna's going to send us a survey, I'd like the survey to include some component of, you know, are you planning to go fine-free in the next year, 2 years? Are you, you know, like a scale?
Are you exploring?
Question online, just to clarify, are you talking about items that are owned by fine-free libraries or patrons of fine-free libraries? Or both?
It would be both. Basically, it would be, so if a patron from a fine-free library walked into Peoria Public with a book that was overdue and Peoria checked it in, it's not going to generate a fine, so it's not going to be a problem because they would never know, right? It's going to be the opposite. It's going to be inside of a fine-free library where someone owes money and wants to check a book out. What do I do with that money? Because we don't charge people fines in our library.
My bottom line is that I don't care if they override and check out, but if you and your board have made the decision that you're going fine-free, you don't get to keep my money.
Right.
I mean, like we sort of do now, if for the tinier amounts or fines, not lost items.
Yeah.
But if you made the decision that you're not going to mess with bags and quarters and $3 fines, well, we still are. So I want my money. You don't get to keep it if you've made the decision you don't want. Yeah.
And even if they aren't, if they're just forgiving the fine, like just, oh, we'll just take it off the book. We don't accept fines, so we just made it go away. You would rather they left it on the account.
Yeah,
and
I'm
owed you.
override, and we'll take care of it if they ever come. We have to come back eventually.
To renew at least.
Some online are saying policy committee should definitely talk about it. I would like to be part of that discussion. I know that we're the only ones, but we don't receive any tax money and need that fine. You know.
Guests are welcome at policy subcommittee meetings. I should
Yes.
say.
Those are all open meetings. Come on out. Yes, go ahead, Nick.
Question. How is the system set up in a way, or how feasible would it be for reports to track how much the money that a fine-free library, let's say Peoria Heights, right, they're fine-free. So is there a way to track every payment that Peoria Heights collect? And then you treat it like we do ProPay, twice a year, a report's generated and says Peoria Heights needs to cut checks to these libraries for these amounts.
Yes and no.
Settle up that way. That seems like it might be easier than
Yes and no.
daily payments.
So it depends on how well staff are forgiving the fines, what they're using, right? So I think, right, if you walk into a fine-free library and you owe $3, right, and they forgive it, what am I running a report on? Because they didn't take any money.
Well, should they be forgiven? I mean, that's a whole different topic.
So that's where the policy has to come in, right? Because you could forgive it, you could cancel it, right? And so no money has changed hands, those fines just disappeared versus, oh, we took cash or we took.
That's what I mean, like if
But
they collect it.
Yeah.
With that idea,
But that assumes that they're not just punching in $3 pay and not getting the money, because that could happen too.
I would forgive fines that do that.
Like on my payment report that I run in, that I don't know about forgiving because I don't use it very often, but I know cancel shows up.
It will show, I can see the
And then I
payment
filter it
reason.
out.
Yeah, I can see the payment reason, but if you're, oh, that would be a lot of work, but if we were gonna go down that road, it would be incumbent on staff to do it correctly. Because if they just look at it and they go, it's a $5 fine, $5, boom, you're good to go, right? And they punched in $5 and hit cash, right? Because they're not collecting it, they don't, on their end, they don't care, right? But then if I run a report, I'm seeing, oh, you took $5.
Yeah.
Right, so that, it would have to be set up so that it worked correctly.
Yeah,
And that would be a lot of work. And if we're going to go down that road, the very next logical thing is going to go, well, every overdue paid at any other library I want back in my library. I can guarantee that will be the very next thing I know.
Okay, so Alyssa says yes, and I have been meaning to ask this, so I'm going to ask it now.
Good.
Through the mobile app, can I, as a patron of a basic library, pay my fee on fine online?
So that
It
is
looks like I can.
that is a feature of the mobile app. If you log into the mobile app and you owe money, you can pay online in the mobile app. Here's how we will deal with that on the back end.
No, I don't care if I don't get it for
Oh, you'll get it, right?
6 months or whatever.
But it'll be a while, yes. You'll get it in probably February or March. Speaking of, I have checks up here if you need a check. From, well, not if you need, if you. That was a very bad check. If there's a check with your name on it, I will give it to you. So how this will work is in June, actually in July. In July, I will get a list of every payment paid in ProPay. And all the ones that are paid by the mobile app will be broken out as follows. Lost, missing, damaged, collections, referrals go to the correct library based on whatever the cert desk rules are. Basically, item owning library or the billing line, right? So doesn't matter who paid it, that's how we deal with all of the online payments because that's how the cert desk people are supposed to deal with those. You, if your patrons, doesn't matter whose patron it is, right? Your patrons, when they log into mobile cert, will show up as your patron. If they pay an overdue fine, doesn't matter who the overdue fine is, right? But if they pay an overdue fine, whoever billed that fine will get the money, right? So if a Henry patron pays for a Lakin item, Lakin will get the money.
I'm just excited that I can tell some of my patrons,
Oh,
yes, if you
yeah?
put the mobile app on your phone, you can pay with your credit card.
Yes. And we'll break it out because the only fair way to do it for those things is to break it out based on the billing line. Nick.
Slightly tangential, but and when we talk about referral fee,
yeah,
can they like not be listed as RSA or the ADL? You know, can they be listed as Fond du Lac or Fond du Lac?
Did you hear my very large sigh? We hope, this is now the third time we have tried to fix this. We hope. We deleted every one of those reports. James, you guys are done, right?
Yes.
Sorry, James.
Yeah.
We edited all those reports once. That didn't fix it. We edited all those reports again, logging in as the library and taking ownership of the report. That didn't fix it. We deleted all the reports, then logged in as the library, recreated the report, and set them all back up. I think, and we did this week or last week?
They ran Friday. When will you get them?
I can look.
That's a different story.
I can look next week.
A bunch of them failed, but they think that was normal, so they just told us to wait until Friday to run again.
Okay.
Because we ran one again and it was fine.
Okay.
So
anyway, we think as of like now that's fixed. And I'll tell you why I'm laughing. Because every time one of those is paid off online through ProPay, it takes me an hour to figure out who gets that $10. I don't like it. We've been trying to get this fixed for 6 months.
It's great to hear that you guys are looking into it. I didn't know that.
We think it's fixed. That'll make my job, that'll cut hours out of my day and 1 or 2 gray hairs off. Because I literally have to big brother the system all the way back to date of birth of the item, basically, to figure out who got referred and why. Because it shows up as us. And I know I didn't refer them, so somebody must have.
Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with stuff.
Yep. So that should be fixed. For new ones, not for old referrals. Those are still going to be AG. Sorry.
Anna, will this fine free be talked about at the next CERC or the one after that, and will you post
It will
anything?
probably be talked about at every CERC committee meeting for the next year if the way some of the policies have been evaluated recently has gone as an indication. I imagine we'll be talking about this for a while. I imagine we'll at least start the discussion at the next subcommittee meeting and then continue it with the larger group at the next circulation committee meeting. I'll try to have the survey out well in advance of the next circulation committee meeting so we have time to discuss it in subcommittee and then maybe, with fingers crossed, have at least a draft of something written by then.
And I appreciated the comment. I appreciate CERC committee dealing with it, but the decisions about this really are like an upper level decision.
Right,
Yeah.
and this is one of those things where, I mean, my understanding of the way these work is, you know, we kind of present it to the CERC committee, then kind of like, you know, make sure kind of passes at least that preliminary test, and then it'll all have to come to users group for approval. So.
Good. All right. Yes, yeah, quick answer to that question was yes. So,
Yes, that will go to CERC committee. So
let's take
that was a good conversation.
an 8.5-minute break, and then we'll dig in again.
We'll be back in a couple, everybody.
All right, we'll be gathering back in now.
Wow, we have 30 Yeah, there's a little gazebo in Early Town, and I love it.
Wow, we have 28 people online.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, we don't count James, we don't count me, that makes 28, that's pretty good. All right, in the package today, the written package today, there is a strategic plan quick look. Hopefully that's helpful to you guys. The idea behind this document is every one of these meetings I'll go through and write down not everything that we did on the strategic plan, but the big things, the things that affect you, the important things. As it turns out, this particular, our first quarter here with the strategic plan, I actually had something to write on every one of the goals under every one of the pillars. Don't expect that to happen in the future. We got as much of the easy stuff done up front as we could, so it gets harder from here on out. So in the future, this document may have no action on several of these goals as we work on some of the larger ones, but I just wanted to let you know that will be a document that comes with every users group, and it'll be updated for what we did in the previous quarter and anything super important upcoming. And then we'll also talk about it because, well, this is a 4-year plan, and if you don't talk about a 4-year plan, how can it really be a plan? It's like a tree falling in the forest. Somebody needs to hear about it, so let's talk about it. The January through May themes are all tech-based. I initially had some other things, specifically chartering a membership task force in January to get starting, or sorry, February to get started in March, not realizing that I'm gone for a month. I'm going to go visit my wife's in-laws in Thailand from March 9th to April 9th. So that seems like maybe a bad time to start a task force. So we push that back until May. So the kind of January to May timeframe, we're working on all of our tech updates. So we did one system upgrade already to Symphony. Y'all can expect another one of those this fall, probably August. There's a fairly major, and by major, huge for us, staff side, back-end new feature coming that will make a lot of things that we do manually on a command line right now much better, much quicker. So we will be upgrading to that later on this year. Mobile CERC version 2 came out, which is why that fact sheet with the link to the scanner that works well was in the written package. RSA Mobile Cat was RSA Cat Mobile was released in December. That's gotten pretty good adoption. So I look at renewal stats, holds placed in renewals every day by product, and BookMine has gone down about 60% as far as holds and renewals, and all of that traffic has moved over to the RSA Mobile Cat. Also, anybody who has RSA Mobile, which is everybody, can pay bills online. So that's going to end up being pretty popular. Fond du Lac is our first library that set up a template. Templates are $500 a year, currently limited to full onlines. They're a lot of work initially to get set up, but Fond du Lac has their templates set up. There's a big monitor out in the main area that actually was showing a picture of their mobile app with their template on. You can do the same thing on your own personal phone by going into workflows and changing your owning library from whatever it is to Fond du Lac. And then open up RSA Cat Mobile, the app, and it will download as soon as it sees, oh, you're a Fond du Lac patron? I have a whole template for Fond du Lac. It'll load Fond du Lac's template, which has their headers, their color schemes. It's got breakout rooms for their calendar, their electronic resources, all these other things that link out to other pages. Basically, what Fond du Lac did was they went through their public website and they said, here are all the different rooms and the different links we have. It'd be great if we could turn these into a template and put them in our mobile app. And we were able to do that. Okay, so they were a good test case for us. They're about as complicated as you can currently do with it. Eventually, we might be able to train you to do the admin work to update your own app. Pretty complicated. We're not real good at it either. Right now, we're using the vendor to do that. We get a nice big list of links and rooms and what you want, and we just send it off to the vendor who designed the app, and we say, hey, make this work. It'll be on us then to start updating the links in the future. But if you want to see what Fond du Lac looks like, just make yourself a Fond du Lac patron, log into the mobile cat, and you'll see. Right now, next in line is Quincy Public. That'll be the next one we do. Then Brown County is up next after that. So we'll be working through these slowly as we can have time to do it. It's quite a bit of work, but it does work pretty nicely. One thing everybody needs to be aware of is we bought a new firewall. As you all know, to get to workflows, you have to give us your IP address so that we can let you through the firewall. Well, we have been doing that for, I don't know, 14, 15, 20, 30, I don't know, some long number of years. I don't know how old our current firewall is because I don't remember buying it. So it's probably older than I am, and we have not done a good IP address cleaning since. So we have a new firewall, which means we will make all of you check for your IP address and send it to us. So next week, you're going to get a survey. The survey is going to say, do you want to get into workflows? If so, go to one of these links, tell us what your IP address is, and oh, by the way, in your library, if you have wireless networks with your staff computers hooked up to them, you might want to run that IP checker on your staff wireless links as well, because in some libraries it's the same external IP address, and in other libraries it's a different external IP address. Right? Then you can answer this survey. James will get to add all these new IP addresses into the system and take out all the old ones. In April, we will swap from the old firewall to the new firewall, and then we will answer the calls that come in when people say, I can't get into the system today. Well, if you had told us what your IP address was, you could have gotten into it. It takes 2 seconds to add a new IP address into the system. You guys have called us, you know it doesn't take all that long to get into it and do that. So we will work on this for the next 2 months, and then in April we'll stick that new firewall on. We cloned the configuration from the old firewall to the new firewall, so all of that IP address routing to get down the VPN to Cersei Dynix should work. My fingers are crossed for those of you online, because we can't test it until we do it. Have a nice day. We think it'll work. We cloned over the existing configuration. It works now. It should work when we do it.
So I can guarantee you that you full online libraries that use AnyConnect, which is just a handful of you, but you have to be a full online member. So when you take your laptop to an offsite event, it will still be the same username and password. So I can confirm that that does work.
And you guys know who you are if you're doing
yes.
that. All right. We have some other tech stuff that we're doing, but it's more behind the scenes. You're not really going to notice it. We are hoping to do an RSA CAT version upgrade. That will cause a lot of work on the back end eventually for us after we implement that, because this is the version that has the mobile responsive design. So if you load it up on your cell phone, it'll kind of shrink down. But to make it shrink down, we literally have to rewrite every change we've ever made on our catalog to be mobile aware. And oh, by the way, completely retheme everything to fit with mobile. We've had this product running for 10 years. We've been making changes to this product for 10 years. It's what we have is very customized. So it'll take us a long time before we make that switch and we say, hey, oh, by the way, now when you load it on your cell phone, it will be mobile aware. We can do the software update without enabling that. That's what we'll do. And eventually, as we get to the point where we're comfortable saying, okay, we'll let it resize and reflow and run us a big long list instead of 3 wide, it'll do that. So that'll be a big project for us. We're also hoping, we're still beta testing that with Cersei right now. We're not sure when they're going to release it, but supposedly it's supposed to be at the end of this month, and then you go into the waiting list to get it installed. So that may happen when I'm gone. All right. We talked about the chartering a task force for membership levels. I had a question on here, and we decided that this was not appropriate. So the mentoring task force, we're not going to do a mentoring task force per se. That's a library thing. We will help you with that by helping people put together, maybe hooking up a list on our website, things like that. So that's where we're going with that. As far as the member engagement tier of the strat plan, we are currently, not at this meeting, but starting with the next meeting, testing alternating the day of the week and the week of the month, right? So we're doing Thursday first this time, then Wednesday first week, then Tuesday first week, then Thursday second week, Wednesday second week, Tuesday second week for these meeting dates, right? So there's a list of meeting dates in the written package. You might want to go out and get it. We have the next 6 meetings scheduled out. So you can put those on your calendar. But again, you're used to coming on a Thursday, the first Thursday of the month. We're switching these up because the people who can come on the first Thursday of the month come, but there are a lot of people who can't come on the first Thursday of the month. So we're going to rotate these dates, see how that does. It also opens up new people to run for the board, because people whose board meetings are on the first Thursday of the month can't run for the board because, well, they're busy because they have another meeting that day. There are places we cannot meet that we potentially would like to meet and use their facilities because they have standing groups on Thursday. So this just kind of will help with some things. We'll see how it goes. We are currently reworking the support site. We showed you the policy and networking group page. We're taking a slow burn on this. We're trying to, as we work forward, again, we're going to try and add information that you guys will find useful as we rethink where and how to redo the entire website. Maybe we want to get a Squarespace page and build it there. Maybe we want to spend a bunch of money and hire some professional website builders. We'll have to see. Depends on how we want to do it and how much on the back end we're willing to give up, so that, you know, it might be that only 1 or 2 people could update something versus everybody in RSA can update pages now. There's a lot to it. So we're going to try and make it better before we completely rebuild it. We're developing a survey that'll be out in February sometime about the purpose of RSA's committees, and we're going to ask you, what are you looking for? What do you think the CERT committee should do? What do you think the CERT policy committee, subcommittee should do? What is the reports committee? What should it be doing, right? So we have these committees. These committees meet. They're very much RSA staff driven. They're not library driven. We don't know if that's the right way to go. So we're going to do a survey. The other thing is that one of the things that we found during this process was people wanted definitions of, what do these committees do? What is users group? What's the definition? Who should show up to users group? What is the CERT committee? What's the definition? Who should show up for a cert committee, right? So, well, if we're going to write that, let's find out what you think they should be, so we can make those whatever you want them to be, and then we'll write that up and say, okay, here's, based on membership survey, this is what cert committee should be, here's who should be coming, here's what users group should be, here's who should be coming. So
That's defined in the bylaws.
yes, and so there are some things that may require a bylaws change to change it. But the committees are not
No, not the
not as well defined. We have made quite a few listserv tweaks. Hopefully it's better for you. I threw this in here because I was trying to see, has it been helpful to see right in the subject line of the email who is the general intended audience? Does that help with triage? That bottom line section where we try and, I'm not real good at this, but we try and be concise in the bottom line section. Although the last email I sent out was about that long in that section. We're generally better than that. Are those things helpful? Again, this was something that was requested. Hey, can you make this better for us? So we took a shot at that. If you have ideas, like maybe you get an email from some community group or whatever, and you're like, the format of this email is great. I can tell right away if it's something I want to read or not. Forward it to us with a comment and say, hey, this is really cool. Throw this in your bag of tricks, and we'll, because we will revisit these things as we go, as we try and make things better. The other nice thing about the listserv is that Anna and her crew went through every address in the listserv to make sure we knew what library and email was signed up from, what their membership list was, or membership level, and what kind of library they are, so that now when we need to send out an email to ask schools what their end of semester date is, we don't have to send it to the public libraries anymore. We can now target schools. We could target basic online schools if we wanted to, right? So hopefully that'll cut down, probably not a lot, but it'll cut down some of the emails that you just look at and you're like, why did you send me this? I'm not a school. Why are you asking me what my end of semester date is? So that's new for us, so we're happy to have that. On the organizational effectiveness front, one of the things was to fully inform you of the full costs of RSA. So again, I talked about how the cover letter will be very explicit on this is how much money the RSA grant is contributing towards your membership. We're also working on coming up with some kind of system usage metrics so that libraries can, so that when we build our new membership levels and eventually new pricing structures, we'll know right away if we apply this to a library and it says they should pay this amount of money, but they're in the bottom third of the usage of the system, maybe that doesn't make sense, right? Right now, we don't, other than feel, right, we don't have a good idea of where a lot of our libraries fall in the continuum of RSA, right? I know Peoria is our largest library, and I know Graham School of Nursing is our smallest library, and I know that like Avon is a pretty small library, but are they smaller than another library or slightly bigger, or are they smaller but use the system more? We don't have great statistics all in one spot. So what we're looking at doing is creating basically a usage score where we look at some kind of overall general stats, number of patrons, number of students, number of CERCs, number of ILLs, these types of things. We lay out all those answers on a scale of 1 to 144 members, or however many members we have at that point. Then we break that scale up into 10% chunks, and you get a score of 1 to 10, right? So if we have 6 different metrics, Peoria is going to be 60 points. Sorry, you just aren't. You're big, you're going to win, right? Graham School of Nursing is going to get 6 points because they're going to have the lowest of everything. The big fun question for me is, how does that middle 50% lay out? I can tell who the biggest libraries and who the smallest libraries are. I'm not real sure of system usage-wise on an overall scale where that middle 50% is. And that's going to help us come up with, oh, we've just designed membership levels, but if we apply these membership levels towards kind of a system usagey thing, we made 5 membership levels, but only 2 of them are going to get used. Well, that's dumb. That doesn't help, right? So those eventually we'll either publish those or we'll put them out, and it'll give everybody an idea of just kind of where they stand. This is not punitive. It's not, we're not going to use it to say, oh, you know, you've got 22 more patrons than so-and-so, so you should pay me $1 million. This is just kind of give us an idea of sanity checking our membership, right? We have to break schools out differently than we have to break publics out because they're different organizations, right? So this is all part of that info gathering thing. So you may or may not see a survey asking for some kind of what seems like relatively easy information. If we do a survey, we'll tell you, hey, we're trying to build this system usage metric and we thought up of something that we can't report on, so we're asking you for the data. And then under the operating efficiency thing, like I said, we have plans to hire 3 more staff people mid-year, right? That came straight out of this goal in the strat plan. So we figured out what skills we're missing, what talent stacks we were missing, what kind of services we were missing on our staff, and we're hiring to fill. We are talking with other consortia in Illinois, and at Kosugi, we'll be talking with other consortia from around the country and around the world to find out, how do you deal with training people? You know, I know they're, like, for instance, Prairie Cat has something, they purchased a system that does online training, and they build online kind of, you know, click here and do this, and then, you know, so they purchased a system and they're building online training and making that mandatory for certain things, right? How's that working? It's rather new, and it seems like the few things they've rolled out people like, but if they start rolling out a lot of it, do people get annoyed by that, right? And then say, oh, we don't like this anymore, right? There are people that do all their training online through research or through desktop sharing or through videos. So we're going to talk with a lot of people and see how other consortia are doing their training to kind of give us an idea. These are areas we should maybe stay away from because other people have tried them and they just don't really seem to work. What I do know is it's really hard for us, especially in the fall, to go visit 20 new school staff librarians when we don't have enough staff to go out and visit you all in the first couple of weeks of school. Things like that, or we're trying to figure out how to work around. How do we make training that's good enough that you can start using the system if there's maybe nobody even else around, at least to do some minimal things until we can come out and touch you, in person. If you're a larger library and you have 10 people on staff, what's a good kind of starter course to get the information so that people have kind of a defined baseline before you start to train them on how you do things in your library and how you use the software? How do we do that? So that's what we're kind of looking at. Again, something in the operating efficiency plan. While most of you will not get to go into our lovely office space in East Peoria for probably some time as all the road construction really spins up out there, if you have been in there lately, you will know that everybody except for one person in RSA is in a new office. We have fully utilized all of the office space in the building, which means that the 3 new people we hire, we don't have space for at the moment. We have some temporary office space that we can create, and that's where they'll be. We are working with Rails to either firm up that office and stay there long term, or which is kind of the plan at the moment, or to look for someplace else. So that's not something I can do. I'm not in charge of that. I'm certainly not going to go out and rent someplace. No, thank you. Rails will take care of that for us, but we want to best occupy our space. We'd like to build a new conference room so that walls are straight as opposed to curve or linear, and we can get more people in there. So we're working with Rails to best use that facility best we can. We need more parking space. That's the big deal, is we need more parking space. And I talked about the tech updates at the front. So, do any of you guys have questions or concerns about where we're currently at in the strat plan or what's coming in the next kind of 6 months for that? You will be seeing more surveys.
In regards to the parking situation, on days when you are holding meetings there, is there an opportunity to park at one of your neighbors' lots and then like shuttle?
So,
Or have staff park there?
The building on the other side of the parking lot, of our parking lot from us, was open for a while. It got rented out. That little distillery that was there, I believe, has just been redistillerized, I think. So there are cars there. That's not a word? It was a distillery. It's going to be a distillery again. That's redistillerized.
Sure.
It's like distilled twice.
Double distilled now.
Right, it's twice the fruit. So the parking that potentially would have been there with those two buildings being vacant, that's gone, right? So there's not a ton of parking, and I think part of the long-term lease negotiations that I know of, they want like 40 or 50 parking spots. That's a lot of parking spots that do not currently exist in our building. So, you know, does that mean that they need to pave over the front grass or the back grass to get more parking? Not up to me, I don't do that. But I know that's something that they need to do. It does not make sense to build a conference room almost this size when we don't have parking to support. So Rails is dealing with that.
How often, how many times a year, month, or whatever, do you perceive you don't have enough parking? How often does that happen?
Well, we do not host a lot of large events, but anytime we have users group, anytime we have committee meetings, parking's tight on those days. We've got that cataloging course coming up. I think there's like 12 or 13 people registered for that. They're all coming from different libraries. That's gonna kind of max out our parking.
And sometimes it's not RSA, it's a Rails. So if there's something through the video conferencing that could take up a lot of people that's not RSA supported at all, it's coming from Rails. So there could be two different things going on at the same time.
Yeah. And it wasn't as big a deal when there was like 8 of us because we didn't take up that many parking spots. But you know, we have 15 spots just for staff now. There's +2 for our cars, so that's 17 spots. That's a lot of parking, and we're already running into the neighbors parking into what's our area. So yeah, we can't, I think Rails would like to sign a long-term contract. I've seen the kind of mock-ups for new office space and to close off what used to be the talking book shelves area. That would become our main meeting room, kind of that big open area. Be a great meeting room. It's like 24 by 48 or something like that. It's a good space. Square walls so everybody can see stuff. Amazing how much a square wall will do for you. So the space is there. Putting walls up around it internally is not hard, right? Building a couple new offices out in the old atrium wouldn't be hard, but it's useless if we can't park there. So parking deck. I don't think Family Video wants to build a parking deck. I hate to say it.
They're not family video.
No, I is a renter.
Tenant.
Family Video still owns the building.
That's right. You know Family Video is the largest property holder in Illinois?
Yeah, they
Yes.
love to buy property.
Yeah, because
And sell?
yeah, video is not a great business, but owning property is. So yes, so they bought our building. Then they sold off, used to be ITV3, right? So they're now I3. Family Video sold them off, but I3 is still in the building, so they're a renter now too.
Makes me sad.
I think Family Video's biggest thing, that's what CBD, I see it in the video store.
That's what goes with movies.
Avon sells CBD now. Avon does. I saw that on Instagram. It's like, really? Avon?
Yeah. Oh, when you walked in.
I am done. I yield the rest of my time back to you, Madam Chair.
So I'm a little confused. Was that a suggestion that something the libraries need to be looking into? We won't go there this afternoon. Lots has come across our minds and our hearts this afternoon as we move forward. We knew this would happen after strategic planning because now we have some real direction as to where we need to go and what we need to do. So we can look forward to the exciting times that are coming. Are there any other items of business that we need to discuss today? Kendall will let us know. Our next meeting is May 6th. It's a Wednesday. It's the first Wednesday of the month. He will let us know when he firms up exactly where that will be.
Yes, so I'm going to put out an email. Anna will remember to remind me to put out an email asking who would like to host. I already know that Galesburg has volunteered, and we also had Quincy's talking about maybe hosting October. So much like we're doing with training dates, we wanted to throw it out and see who we got. So I'll probably be doing the May, August, and November meetings because, again, we don't know when the construction is going to be done in front of our building. They are tearing down the bridge over Pinecrest, if you don't know, right? So, and the off ramps for all of that's going to be gone at some point in time, which will make it difficult to get to our buildings. So I'll probably just send out an email and say, hey, if you'd like to host any of these meetings and you can hold 25 people or whatever, right, and have an internet connection, let me know, and then we'll choose some people. If we get libraries that have never hosted before, I'd be more likely to go there, just to spread the wealth a little bit.
Are they reinstalling those exits then?
Yes, so they are. My understanding is they're jacking the bridge up several feet so that trucks stop driving into it, which is the big problem with that Pinecrest exit.
Have they said when they're starting, even roughly?
No. My guess is this is how it'll work. They will close the bridge and close Pinecrest, and they're going to close the 74 exit off Kickapoo Edwards, is where I get on 74. And they're also supposed to work on another 74, 474 exchange a little bit, which means I cannot get to work without going all the way to Farmington almost and coming backwards in.
You can't get to work or you can't get home.
Well, it depends on where I'm at. If I was at work, then I couldn't get home. But if I was at home, I couldn't get to work. And my guess is I would be at home before that.
Anytime you have ideas for things that need to be on the agenda, certainly contact Anna or Kendall or myself, and we'll make sure that those get on the agenda.
Yes, we will.
Thank you all for your time this afternoon. Have safe trips home.
Thank you, everybody online. Appreciate you coming today.